Ever notice how some top-tier organizations seem to just solve their most complex, expensive problems without breaking a sweat? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are taking a magnifying glass to the secret engine of Lean Six Sigma. We're talking about the DMAIC methodology. We're going to map out exactly how to transform chaotic, underperforming processes into mathematically proven successes. And don't worry, we're doing this without getting bogged down in dense statistical theory. Whether you're in manufacturing, service delivery, or honestly, even just looking at personal performance improvement, understanding the anatomy of this fix is absolutely going to change how you approach problem solving. Let's get into it.
Okay, here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll start with why quick fixes fail, unpack the DMAIC framework itself, explore the tools of the trade, contrast the dream path with reality, look at the power of toll gates, and finally, learn how to sustain the improvement.
Section 1. When quick fixes fail.
So what actually happens when a process isn't hitting the mark and those quick fixes just aren't cutting it? Look, usually our first instinct is to launch a rapid root cause analysis to just find and correct the underlying issue. Boom, done. But that isn't always the right tool for the job. Those methods are great for smaller problems where you just need a quick solution, without investing heavy resources. But what happens when a problem is incredibly complex and literally costing you a fortune?
It all comes down to scaling complexity and cost. When problems are smaller and easier to understand, root cause analysis works perfectly fine. But when we're dealing with massive lost profits, chaotic variations, or a huge drain on human resources, we've got to cross that threshold. We graduate from simple root cause analysis to the DMAIC problem-solving engine. It is the absolute go-to standard for heavy-hitting problems simply because it's detailed, it's highly structured, and it is incredibly robust.
Section 2. Unpacking the DMAIC framework.
Let's break down this acronym to see how it builds logically. First up is define. This is where we identify the opportunity, establish the business need, and put some boundaries around the scope of the problem. Second is measure. Here, we gather data to establish a hard, mathematical baseline of how the process is currently running. Third is analyze. This is where we stop guessing and actually diagnose the proven root causes of our defects. Fourth is improve, where we design and optimize actual solutions to treat the process. And finally, control, where we prescribe a strict regimen to sustain all those hard-won gains over the long haul.
Section 3. Tools of the trade.
Now, to keep this from sounding like just a bunch of abstract corporate jargon, let's look at the concrete tools for each phase. In Define, you've got tools like a SIPOC map, which simply outlines suppliers, inputs, the process, outputs, and customers, or a critical to quality tree. These help us map out exactly what the customer needs. In Measure, we use histograms to visualize data and a method called Gauge R&R. That one is crucial because it ensures our measurement tools are actually trustworthy before we rely on them. Analyze brings in hypothesis testing and the 5 whys to dig deep into those root issues. For Improve, we use design of experiments to systematically test different variables and see which solutions actually work best. And finally, in Control, Statistical Process Control, or SPC, acts as our ongoing radar to make sure the process doesn't drift backward into its old bad habits.
Section 4. Dream path versus real world. All right, here is where inexperienced teams usually get stuck. We all want the dream world, right? A smooth, linear path straight from define to control without any friction whatsoever. But the real world, it's highly iterative and honestly pretty messy. The data and knowledge you uncover in the analyze phase might completely disprove the assumptions you made way back in define. And when that happens, the team has to loop backward, completely restating the problem before moving forward again. It's a dynamic process, and that looping, that is exactly why it ends up working so incredibly well.
Section 5. The power of toll gates.
Because of that looping reality we just talked about, DMAIC relies on strict checkpoints called toll gates. You don't just magically level up to the next phase. A project champion conducts a formal review asking the tough, focused questions, like, what are the critical inputs, or are these the true root causes? Passing this review yields a go or no-go decision. This adds vital stakes to the entire project to ensure absolutely nothing is wasted and everything is proven.
And here's the thing, a no-go isn't necessarily a failure, it is an essential safety net. You might just have to rework the current phase, retreat to an earlier one, or, if the project just no longer aligns with your business goals, terminate it completely right there. This rigorous gatekeeping ensures you only ever implement costly solutions on a mathematically proven foundation.
Section 6. Sustaining the improvement. So what is the ultimate destination of this grueling, tollgate-driven journey? It is the pinnacle Six Sigma standard. The goal here is to reduce process variability so severely that even if the process naturally shifts over time, everything still remains within acceptable limits. Mathematically, this means hitting just 3.4 defects per million opportunities. Think about that. That is an astonishingly low error rate, and it really is the absolute gold standard of process control.
Now, this equation right here is the foundational heart of our explainer. Y equals F of X. DMAIC isn't just about inspecting final products and throwing away the bad ones. No way. It empowers you to systematically isolate and control your process inputs, the X's. If you strictly control those inputs through your DMAIC toolkit, the successful outputs, the Y's, will literally take care of themselves.
As we wrap up this explainer with W. Edwards Deming's famous principle about improving constantly and forever, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought. Look, we all love the satisfaction of a quick Band-Aid fix. It feels good. But considering the immense power of the Y equals F of X equation and the absolute rigor of the DMAIC methodology, are your organization's daily quick fixes actually the very thing standing in the way of permanent breakthrough improvement? Really think about that the next time you're asked to solve a complex problem. Thanks for exploring this with me.